What's going on, guys? This is Raph from Between Two Forks, back again this week with another knife video. This knife video is just a little different than what we normally do. It's not an unbox, it's not a review, it's not anything like that. It's actually a knife mod video on how to turn your $65 Misen into a $200 knife. Okay. Maybe the title is a little misleading, just a little bit. Of course, I'm not going to be able to turn this into a $200 knife, but we can turn it into a knife that feels like a $200 knife, and that's what I'm going to show you today. And before we get started, if you can hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, it will mean the world to me and will help me, support all of this madness. And let's get started. When I refer to the $200 knife, what I'm really trying to refer to is a Bob Kramer chef knife, which range anywhere from $200 to like $15,000 for his one-of-a-kind knives. He is one of the best knife makers out there. If you don't know who he is, definitely go look him up. Now, one of the features that I'm trying to, accomplish here with this knife is a crowned spine. What I mean by a crowned spine is a completely rounded spine, and it is extremely comfortable in the hands when you're, cutting in the kitchen or whatnot. And another feature that the Bob Kramers have is a rounded choil. And that's also another comfort feature. And it's these little details in knives that make a knife more premium. Of course, you have your materials and your craftsmanship, but these little small details is what sets, like a $20 knife apart from like a $200 knife, right? And before you get started on this project, you'll definitely want something with good bones in it. What I mean by good bones, it's kind of like a foundation of a house. You just want something with a good foundation that when you start working on, the house or the knife itself, you don't want it to fall apart on you. So something with decent material, a full tang, etc. So let's get started and talk a little bit about the materials that I recommend on this video. If you're watching this video, you're probably kind of a DIYer, so you might already have a benchtop vise at your house. So more power to you. If you don't, I definitely recommend it. I picked this one used up from like the Facebook Marketplace for 20 bucks. All I had to do was clean a little bit of rust off of it, some elbow grease, and 20 bucks, this is a fantastic deal. It's going to save you a lot of time, save you a lot of headaches. And if you don't want to go this route and you already have some table clamps or some vices that you have at the house, you can probably rig something up with some milk crates or wooden crates, or if it's some thick, phone books, whatnot, to just clamp the knife steady to work on it, because you really don't want this thing, loosey-goosey all over the place. You just don't want a sharp object flying around the place. Let's just avoid all that. Next thing we have is wet and dry sandpaper. I have some silicone carbide. This is a variety pack I picked up for like $3 at Harbor Freight. It's 220 grit all the way up to 1200. There are several options that you can use here to round off the spine of the knife. I actually have a diamond file here that I might use. When I tried it on another knife, I wasn't a huge fan of the results, so I'm just going to probably stick with the sandpaper. Booth Hill blade, thank you guys so much for recommending and giving me some advice on this, is to using the sanding sponges that you can pick up from the hardware store. So if you guys don't know who Booth Hill blade is, definitely go check them out. They have some fantastic kitchen cutlery, one-of-a-kind handmade stuff. They're amazing. So anyhow, let's go back to the video. Instead of using, doing it by hand, if you have a Dremel, you can use a Dremel if you want. I've heard mixed reviews on using a Dremel on the consistency of the finished product. So keep that in mind. Or if you have a belt sander, you can definitely use a belt sander. I wish I had a belt sander, because those will make this job so much easier. And the last thing I have here is butcher block oil. You can use any kind of oil that you want. You can use some olive oil if you want. and it is just to add it to the sandpaper for the polishing and final touches of the knife. Alright guys, so the thing that I do not have pictured here or in the video is my masking tape. So the masking tape, what we're going to do is mask off the entire knife. The blade itself, of course, is sharp, so you want to tape it off so you just kind of avoid cutting yourself as easily. Doesn't mean you can't cut yourself, it's just a precautionary thing. And I will also mask off the entire face of the knife, because like any project, the more time you spend on prep, the less time you're going to have to spend on finishing touches. And that's something that I learned the hard way on my first knife that I did this on. It left a bunch of micro scratches that is all over the face of the knife, and it took freaking forever to polish them out. So tape this thing off. It will save you so much time. Okay, so I'm gonna go tape the knife off, and then we're going to get started on this. Alright guys, so let's get started. I have the knife clamped down. I have some, let's see, I have the 220 grit. As you can see here, they're about 1 inch wide, or yeah, inch wide, and long strips of it, so that way you can kind of work it in a shoe polishing motion. What you want to do here is, I guess, sand it in a shoe polishing motion, or if you're using the file, hit it at a 45-degree angle, so that way it just takes off that really hard edge off of the spine. Now let's get started. Another thing I do want to mention too is that sometimes these sandpaper will tear. If you want to, you know, have them tear less easily, stick a strip of what do you call it, duct tape behind it, so it gives it some of that fiber, some of that oh my god, my pronunciation sucks. Rigidity, like the rigidity to the sandpaper to help it, you know, not tear as easily. Alright guys, so it's been about maybe 5 minutes or so of me. I actually broke out the diamond file to remove a little bit more material, so 45-degree angle, or sometimes kind of like in a rounded, you know, curved motion to kind of create that crowned spine shape. And I also have been using the 220 in a shoe polishing motion about 5 minutes or so, and the spine of the knife is feeling really nice. I'm not even sure if I need to take it up to 1200. If I do, it's just for aesthetics purpose. It's already really smooth on the hands, so let's go ahead and turn this baby over and start working on the choil. Alright guys, so the shaping of the spine and the choil is pretty much done. It's rounded, it's very comfortable in the hands. And I actually sanded a little bit further up onto the knife to shape it and blended it into the rest of the spine so it doesn't just look very unfinished. So that took like an extra 5-10 minutes of time, which is really worth it for a better looking finished product. So more of the spine is rounded and crowned than originally planned. So now I'm going to move on to the 500 and 1200 grit paper to kind of polish and finish the knife a little bit nicer. For the 1200 grit, I'm actually going to add a few drops of the butcher block oil or olive oil, or you know, whatever oil you have on hand, to create a nicer polish onto the knife. So it creates a much nicer finish altogether. Alright guys, so let's go ahead and unmask the knife after all that work we put in. So like I said before, recap, I shaped it with the file. I actually did have to break it out just to make the video a little bit quicker. And it does take off material a lot faster than just sandpaper. So keep that in mind. If you don't want to spend the extra 10 bucks, I bought this for like $8 on Amazon. So I think that was totally worth it for the additional $8. And then some 220 grit, 500, and then 1200 grit with a little bit of oil. So let's go ahead and pull the tape off and see what our finished product looks like.
No.
Alright guys, so this concludes the video of how to make your $65 Misen feel like a $200 knife. The spine feels extremely nice. I mean, this is totally worth the time, you know, especially since the Misen is such a fantastic knife at a $65 price point. And just to add this rounded spine to it has made this knife so much better. Like I said in my previous video on the Misen 2.0 unboxing, this is one of my favorite knives. And rounding out the spine makes this one of my favorite knives to use on a daily basis. Alright guys, I hope you guys liked the video. If you guys like what you see, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It will mean the world to me. And I will see you guys next week. Bye.